Thanks for joining us once again. Today we focus on a concept that I call the S&P spike. And it's my belief that this spike could have a $20 to $50 a share increase in the price of Tesla that is definitely worth your time to, to note as we head into this period. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks once again for joining us. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. We also want to thank our Patreon supporters. If you enjoy the show, would like better ideas on investing and trading, please join us on Patreon. And then speaking of that, I have a couple of friends that I compare notes with almost on a daily basis on what's going on in investing as well as what's going on with Tesla. Today, I wanted to focus on something I want to call the S&P spike. So there's a concept called rebalancing. So what happens is that once a quarter, I believe it may be more, the S&P actually does a process where they look at the market cap of all the companies and they rebalance what percentage of the S&P each company is going to be based on what their current market cap is. So as you know, Tesla has gone from about 180 to now we're up into the 260 department. It's 100 points. That's almost like a 50% increase in the market cap of Tesla, and it makes it a fairly large company that takes up more space in the S&P than they previously did. So one of the interesting, worthwhile questions to ask and learn about now and going forward for Tesla is, what is Tesla's market cap? Where does that put it in the S&P as a percentage? And in order to stay balanced, so this rebalancing issue is important because 60% of shares are now in indices. So there's a large number of companies that are required to determine what Tesla's balancing is relative to the S&P, and they have to buy more shares to get their balance position accurate. And so I think this is a really interesting circumstance because as these firms are in the process of rebalancing, they now have the challenge that they have to buy more shares to get in balance because Tesla's previous market cap was low enough that it didn't consume this percentage of the S&P. And so my argument here or suggestion then is that we're going to see a nice push in Tesla's stock price, and it won't be any obviously new information that would get us there. So what does that number look like? It could be 10, it could be 50 points, but I think there definitely is going to be a move. And I think as that move starts occurring, there are a lot of people are going to pay attention to it. And it's entirely possible that a higher market cap driven by that move could result in higher market cap, which I think would be really cool. So I wanted to sort of bring this up because obviously Tesla's enjoying a nice run. There is news that goes with it, but the news seems to be dribbling out and nobody is offering up all of the market cap impact in terms of revenue and profit increases right now that are going forward with the changes going on with Tesla until they've had a chance for other people to make money off that information. So obviously if you're in, it's great. Don't be surprised if we see a continued nice move up as this whole process plays out. There's something else that's lurking that I think is going to have an impact here, and that is the fact that now that Tesla has developed this relationship with certain OEMs relative to charging, does it make sense for Tesla to potentially offer no big deal assistance to these entities? For example, if Tesla's had a situation where they actually made and sold batteries to Daimler in the past. Well, because of the problems with blowing up batteries and other issues, should Tesla consider offering Ford and GM batteries as well? Because if they can hook up the battery that's built to the charging that they're now going to be having access to, that is going to offer, I think, a smoother working relationship for those entities relative to their batteries rather than having to climb the entire curve of what to do. Plus, those entities are more comfortable buying than not. So in general, I just think there's a lot of ancillary revenue and profit boosts that might come out of the working relationship between the companies and, if you will, a new posture by Tesla. Maybe on a slightly negative note, I just found it interesting that Tesla's kind of saying, now that they're going to be offering their charging facilities to non-Tesla vehicles, you're going to have potentially Tesla vehicles waiting behind other or non-Tesla cars for charging space. And I think it's unfortunate. So my argument is, why not buy the stock and benefit from this happening? And I think it'll ease the pain of having to wait behind vehicles that are not Teslas to get your charging done. So next, what I wanted to focus on is that there is the potential, I believe, for us to go on the high end of the numbers relative to the Cybertruck. As you know, it's supposed to be introduced in the next 2 or 3 weeks and then start production in September. If we can get that 30 to 40K by the end of the year, and the owners of those vehicles are experiencing great things, I just think that we could end up with heavier demand resulting in heavier production, and therefore that production juicing Tesla's numbers as we have higher revenue and profit. So be not surprised if Cybertruck impacts the whole Tesla situation in a greater way. The other thing I wanted to bring up about the Cybertruck that I think is kind of interesting is that the waiting list to get a hold of a semi is heading, 3 to 4 years out. But a Cybertruck will actually tow 14,000 pounds. And a question comes up, which is, should you add if you need to make the transition to electric vehicles and 14,000 pounds is enough, let's say you're toting chips or something, it's possible that we could see people decide to simply create a de facto semi with lighter weight and just do 2 trips in the electric space rather than having to wait for when the semi is available. So, 2 trips, 14,000 pounds, about 30K moved. And in theory, if it's an electric vehicle, there are a lot of entities that might be able to get their electric fill by that process. And I think it'd be awesome if it was tried and was successful. At any rate, I wanted to note that obviously we're about to get revenue numbers middle of July. Revenue numbers for Tesla, number of vehicles sold, all that stuff is going to pop up. I do think we're in a strange zone right now, though, because usually revenue and profit determines what happens to the earnings numbers, but we have so many future products coming on that I think that Tesla's definitely gotten beyond what the numbers should have been based just on the profit we've seen and the number of vehicles sold seen. And I think it's going to be the case again in the coming couple of weeks. But I just think the story is excellent, revenue, profit growth, etc. And therefore we end up with a lot of success coming forward for Tesla in terms of the stock dramatically improving. The one other thing that's going on for Tesla and the other sort of big tech great companies, be it Microsoft, Meta, etc., is as the interest rates start going sideways to down, we're going to end up in a situation where there are a lot of people that have been waiting for whether or not the Fed was going to keep increasing interest rates or not. If those rates are going to stay the same and potentially start dipping, a lot of new money that's been out there will benefit from a stock market that's actually rising to embrace sort of the return to buying growth stocks that was out there previously, but that kind of disappeared over the last year. So there's a lot of people who've been buying short-term bonds going to be coming out of those bonds in the next weeks and months. And they've got to look around and see, do I have high enough interest rate to make it worth my while? Or should I get back into great companies like Tesla as we go forward? So I just think that there are these layers on layers of things that can positively impact companies that are doing great. And all those layers result in a higher price for the great companies in the space, Tesla being one of them. So I look forward to how all this is going to play out and staying on top of it for you. At any rate, once again, this is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy your day. Uh, just our health tip reminder for the day is don't forget your 20-minute walk for the day, as well as from a sleep research standpoint, trying to maintain a sleep schedule on the weekends. It's the same as during the week because it sets up your body in a nice schedule for good rest on a regular basis. Once again, thanks for joining us. Tschüss, au revoir, lehitraot, choda hafez, drasiche, ni hao ma, namaste, and in Jamaica we say enough respect, walk good man.